There we
You
go.
there?
What's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on, man? I'm blessed, man. How are you?
Man, I'm blessed too. I love to hear it.
What's going on?
I just got one question, man. When you cold call, right, and you call them, you say, "Hey, this is Ron. Give me a call back," right? How do you know calling you back?
So you're talking about when you call them and you get like a voicemail, right?
Yeah.
So you have to, so part of this is you have to understand the strategy you're going to implement. So sometimes on the first call, sometimes it's best not to leave a message. You know why?
No, why? So I
What do you
forget.
do when you get missed calls?
I either call them back or I don't.
Because curiosity usually kills you. So unless it's someone you just don't
Yeah.
want to deal with it. But when you, here's the reality, guys, when you get like that unknown number, unless it says, unknown caller, somebody calls me like, dude, the curiosity kills us all. Like, okay, who's calling me? I don't understand this person. You look up the area code, you try to figure it out, and then eventually you wind up calling. It's one of the best strategies you can play in cold calling. So I'm not a cold calling expert. My son is like hundreds of thousands of calls he's personally done. So he's been in the trenches. He's tried it multiple ways. He never leaves a message on the first round because it's like, because if you leave message after message, you become a stalker. You're not a cold caller. So you got to leave some mystery in what you do. Eventually, at some point, you do have to leave a message. So you have to establish like a policy so you don't drive yourself nut in how you're going to do it. On that first missed call, a good percentage of those people will call you back automatically without you doing any effort. And you get a little bit less resistance because they're like, who is this? What are you calling me for? That's easier to say, stop calling me because you're trying to buy my house. So
Okay.
that's rule number one. But if you want to go through free wholesaling, because that goes into like detail on how to address on how you want to do it. Now, different markets sometimes take different strategies, but for the most part, if it was me, I would not leave a message on the first shot and hope for at least 30 to 40% of those people just to call me back out of curiosity. Because guys, curiosity is the secret in marketing. If you can leave people just slightly on the hook, like we are curious creatures. If we don't know something, we want to know about it. So the problem is if you leave a message, you say, hey, this is Ron. I'm looking to buy a house here. Ron, get off. Like, I don't want to deal with you. Like maybe they do want to sell their house. They don't want to deal with like a salesperson. So
Okay.
just got to make a decision though. Like every little market's a little bit different because we have different markets where we have to leave a message because of the return call rate so low, and we kind of work the numbers. So that goes back to if you ever heard of RVM's ringless voicemail, that's how
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
invented. They said curiosity was the number one way to get sales on people. So even if you
Okay.
do leave a message, you got to leave a message like you're the. So let me hear when you leave a message. What's it sound like?
I haven't done it yet.
Okay.
I haven't even.
So
I
if
haven't
you
made any
leave a
calls.
message, it's got to be just like if you were having a buddy call you.
Okay.
Hey, John, it's Ron. Hey, give me a call back. I got a quick question for you. You can't go, hey, this is XYZ Piranha Shark buying company. We want to buy your house, pay you cash. And I'm done. Like, I already know what you're going to try to do. And I'm just going to delete your voicemail right off the bat. That's why
Yeah.
ringless voicemail was pretty much outlawed in this country. It was dangerous. Honestly, of all the tools in my 21 years of doing wholesaling, ringless voicemail by far was the most effective. It's just not legal in the markets I do it in anymore. So
Okay.
take note to it. Go, what works in RVM? It's the curiosity. People just go, oh my God. Like it was genius, but it was sneaky. And you know that.
It's
So
like cheating almost.
think about it, man. And that was back when like it was just like I go, this is the great. Honestly, guys, I would spend it was embarrassing. We would skip trace the numbers. We used a service for it. We did it, and it was unbelievable the amount of leads we would get doing it. But I knew it wasn't right. As bad as that sounds. So my son, like he pushed me into doing it, but I can't regret it because we made a lot of money doing it. But when I got my cease and desist orders the second time, and I had to meet with the state representative and sign an agreement, I'm like, I'm not doing it anymore because it was $25,000 per call, and then a bunch of us got hit with us. It wasn't just me; they were going after everybody in the state. So I'm like, and that's
Let it
what
go.
like any type of intrusive marketing, that's what happens with it. But they're never going to be able to completely outlaw cold calling. So you want to leave curiosity in it.
Okay, I appreciate that, man. I went through all the course that you guys provide. I've been watching the lives every day for like I don't know, maybe 2 weeks or
I feel
so.
like I
So
know you, man.
yeah, I've been just soaking it all in, man. So
Yeah.
but that part right there really had me stumped. I'm like, if I'm calling all these people with all these different random numbers, and people call me back, if I'm leaving messages, how in the world am I supposed to know what property
So
this is?
so you got to sit down and figure out some logistics and how you do it. So I'd rather you take action than like not do anything at all. So you got to sort out. So if you're going to call from a particular phone number, my idea in the long run, and you can figure this out, it's easy to sort out, is when people call you back on a number, is when you're calling back, you've got to know that they're from a cold call being returned. So how you do the logistics to it, you can figure out the technology. It's not that hard with virtual numbers and stuff like that. So if I call back on this number and they call back, now I will tell you, we used to do a little trick.
Hmm.
Now remember, I don't manage cold calling. My son does. We used to we used to do a little trick when we to see if people were paying attention. Is we do this on SMS. We would leave a different phone number for them to reach out back back to us. And that would see if people were actually reading it and following directions. A lot of people will call back on the number you called on and say, hey, kind of take me off your list. You can play with that one a little bit too. Say, listen, this is John. I'm going to give you my cell phone. Call me at 772. Now, it's still a cell phone, even though it's a business line. And you could do a virtual number, and it requires people to jump through one more hoop, although that could have a downplay effect on it. But what you have to do is when you get an incoming call, you have to know. So whenever our company gets an incoming call in direct mail, that phone number is dedicated to that type of incoming call for a particular city or county. And so when everyone calls and go, hey, here's a call coming in from West Palm Beach, it's a direct mail. So they know exactly what they're doing. There's a different mentality between direct mail. I will tell you, there's definitely a different mentality when people return a cold call. So just, we don't go into complete depth in this, but the understanding. So do you merge all your numbers on one phone?
No, not yet.
What you want to do, you want to find a way.
Yet
you wanted to find a way to separate so you can understand who's calling you back. Because man, when everyone starts calling you back, it's like, oh my God, like, is this John, my friend I'm going to the game with, or like you calling me to sell a house? And it's like, if you're prepared for the phone call, you know how to deal with it. Like the reality is, we treat our friends people as opposed to a stranger. You've got to be on your perfect P's and Q's. With your friends, you don't have to worry about that. And so find a way when that call comes in, you know where it's coming from. So you can achieve that with any type of virtual phone number. Companies like Vumber, CallRail, don't go deep in the expense on it, but you can get a dedicated virtual number for $10, and you can call on an app and like do all your numbers however you want to do it. I'm not getting into the minutia of cold calling, but when the call comes back in, you know where it's coming from, so you can go, okay, I got a guy returning cold call. And then whenever you get someone who's you're conversing with and you have a good shot at getting a deal, is you want to get them on another number, because you got to get them off that cold calling, because it's going to be the same. Like, you've got to separate your leads when they come in on cold calls, because when they return the cold call, they're hostile. It's like, who is this? What did you call me for? And you got to be in a mode like, hey, it's Ron. And they don't know how to respond to that every time. Hey, it's Ron.
Yeah.
Just shut up. They're like, Ron? And then they start thinking, who's Ron? Remember, I called you earlier in the day.
Yeah.
You own that property on 46th Street, right? Oh yeah. How'd you know that? I happened to drive by it. Hey, do you mind? I got a couple questions about the house. You mind if and that it changes the whole trajectory, because if you get in that, who is this? Why are you calling me? Get me off your list. I'm going to call the police to call me again. You got to find a way to get them out of that mode. So if you know they're coming in on like a hostile call, you're like, okay, Ron's paired. Here he comes. Go, hey, who is this? It's Ron. Remember me? Ron. I don't think I know a Ron. Remember, I called you earlier today about the house you have on 46th Street. Oh, how do you know so much about me? I go, listen, dude, I just drove by the house. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about it? And then you go into your regular thing. You got to get them past that like attack mode. And if you can identify that call, I'm not a logistics expert. I'm the worst one at that. But people tell me how to do it. And it doesn't cost a lot of money, $10, $20 type of deal. But if you know that call's coming in and you get 8 in a row, you can deal with them. It's like if you ever played football and you're on offense and your quarterback turns it over and then you got to be on defense, it's like, oh crap, I got to figure out how to tackle now. And it's shocking. I'm telling you, it happens all the time. I used to be a defensive guy, and my favorite thing in the world is I got the ball, because then I got to smack the crap out of people. And it was like my favorite thing. I got so excited and giddy. But offensive guys, they hate tackling like a passion, because they're not meant to, like, okay, I'm blocking. Oh crap, and then if you look at them, they all look like they're in some sort of like crazy dance. And I'm here to tell you, the best way to do it is identify the call coming in and get in the mindset to be able to attack it. And then once you throw people off, if there's an opportunity there, a motivation, you have a shot. You have to separate yourself from all the other cold callers.
Okay. So off topic, what position did you play?
I wasn't great at football. I played defensive end. You know what I was lacking is I had the mentality, I didn't have the speed. And in high school football, if you ain't got speed, you're dead, man. Speed kills. Speed is the number one asset you can have in high school football. That's why I converted over to wrestling, because I was like, okay, I know how to do this. But if you don't, the reality is you got to have speed in high school football, because you can have all the power you want. Like it's unbelievable. And I love I go to our local high school games, and they had one player playing like 4 or 5 positions on offense and defense. You know, that's the fastest guy on the team. But it's like, so it's amazing. But as you progress in the sport, you have to keep adding other elements, power, speed, football smarts. But in high school, dude, just go over to the track. Go find the guys on the track team and see if you can get them in a uniform, because you will dominate if you do it, because our best receivers, our best safety, they all came from the track. They
Same
knew
thing
how
with
to run,
wholesaling,
man.
man.
It's like so
Speed.
I'm just telling you, you have to be prepared. It's like, am I tackling or am I blocking? And it's like but when it switches, they're calling in, it's like, oh crap, we turned the ball over. I gotta cut it. And you can't be off guard. They're gonna be caught off guard. You can't be off guard. And you have to protect yourself. Guys, you have to immerse yourself in your business and understand these little nuances. It's what makes a difference between getting a deal and not getting a deal, because you have a lot of competition. Guys, life is a competition. You got to find a way to dominate your competition. These little like tools, like I could do this for like days with you, but that's why I want to keep you guys connected and help you out as much as I can.
I appreciate it, Rick, man.
Okay,
Yeah,
man.
I did some reverse driving for dollars like a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I only hit like maybe 30, 40 properties, got
Uh-huh.
like 3 or 4 calls back. And speed killed me, right? So
Yeah.
one person, they called me back, and it was actually, I enjoyed the conversation. It was real good conversation. It was like, it was great.
Perfect.
Problem was I missed their call. I was dealing with my children.
Yeah.
Called them back like an hour or so later, and
Kids will
they
do
had
that to
just,
you.
yeah. So in that time span between them calling me and me calling them back, they got a contract with the real. So I probably wouldn't have been their best option anyways.
It's fine. Like,
But
listen,
it
you don't get
happened.
them all, but you understand it, dude. Let me tell you, man. I was juggling 2 small kids the entire time I was doing wholesaling by myself. So, like, I know I used to throw my kids. I go, hey, listen, Daddy's gonna stop by and look at a house. And like, I got in trouble for taking my daughter a house that was extremely inappropriate. I'll just leave it there. It was a massive party house, and boy, did she went and tell Mama, and Daddy got in
Oh
trouble.
man,
But Daddy brought home a big fat check a month later, and
made things a little better.
but to this day, she tells you, goes, remember that time you took me to that house? I'm like, oh yeah, we got chased by a hornet's nest front. Then we got inside. I had to like cover her eyes and like take her out. And then they called the cops because they thought I broke in the house. So it was like a 3-pronged. So she let me get my daughter she got stung by wasps, saw stuff she shouldn't have saw, and then she got interrogated by the police. What are you doing? I go, baby, it's called wholesaling, man, and I love it. And I talked my way out of the whole thing, but like
Man,
it's fun, man. Just keep doing what you're doing and just keep thinking like I just taught you. Just think a little bit outside the box, because you can't be your average salesman. You got to be a person that, if you like to have conversations, you got to find a way to get to the conversation, and you can't be a robot. And with AI and all this crap coming out, there's a lot of people going to be left in the dust. You will never replace you. You have to have that human connection. So keep it. You're doing it the right way.
cool, man. Thank you for the words,
Okay.
bro.
Awesome.
I'll keep
See you,
in
bro.
contact.